In the United States, income inequality is a threat to overall economic growth and the well-being of society. Over the last 30 years, the income gap between the rich and the rest of the population has continued to widen. Between 1979 and 2007, for example, the paycheck income of the top 1% of U.S. earners increased by over 256%, while the bottom 90% only saw an average increase of about 21%. The rich are getting richer, while the poor really aren't changing that much. This income gap is damaging the health of our economy. According to Standard & Poor, unequal wealth distribution leads to extreme economic swings, an uncompetitive workforce, and it discourages investment and hiring. This rising inequality is dampening the economic growth effects on poverty reduction. In a perfect relationship, increasing economic growth would increase the incomes of the poor in about a 1-to-1 relationship, reducing poverty. It makes sense that if the economy is growing, then the income for everyone would grow. If the lowest income population had an increase of, say, about 2% in their annual income, then the population at the top of the poverty level would be pushed over the poverty line. The people just below that would be pushed to the top of the poverty level, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the very lowest of the low income class. This economic increase would be spread evenly, and everyone would benefit. However, this is not the case when income inequality is growing. The change in income inequality affects the elasticity of the growth effects, dampening the poverty reduction. Instead of economic growth benefiting everyone equally, most of the extra capital would be distributed to the highest 1% of the population. By the time it got to the lowest class, the income increase would hardly affect them at all. The total dampening effect of inequality shows that rising inequality raises 129,405 less people out of poverty annually than if income inequality was constant. In order to truly work on reducing poverty in the United States, it is important to focus on pro-poor growth strategies, focusing on the lower income bracket instead of only general pro-growth strategies. This is the only way that we can truly reinvigorate our economy and the health of our nation. Education should be one of the main focuses for decreasing income inequality. By investing more into education expenditures and enrollment, the incomes of the lower and middle class will increase. It has been shown that primary school enrollment rates help the most with increasing the lowest class income, while increasing secondary school enrollment rates will increase the income share for the middle class. And at any level of education, public education expenditure as a share of GDP will increase the quality of the education. Putting more skilled workers into the labor force would then increase productivity and help grow the economy of the nation. S&P's analysis found that if in the next 5 years the education level of the workforce was increased by just 1 year of education, just one, then productivity would increase by $500 billion per year, or about 2.4% of the baseline GDP. Instead of this economic growth benefiting the upper class, more of it would go towards the lower and the middle classes. These lower income workers tend to spend nearly every dollar they make, since they can't afford to save most of it like the wealthy do. Instead of squirreling it away in savings accounts and gaining interest on it, they would be putting it back into the economy, spending it on more products and creating more demand. By increasing the income of the lower and middle classes, more money would be put into the economic circulation, creating a stronger economic ripple effect than if it went to the upper 1%. Closing the income inequality gap would reinvigorate the economy and boost the overall well-being of businesses and society as a whole. If we ever want to get a strong economy and grow the nation to the point where we have more stability, then we need to focus on closing the income inequality gap.